Hi guys, Josh here from Foil Drive, and I'm joined today by Trav, and we're going to be talking about fine-tuning your gear to get the most out of it from start to finish. We brought Trav here today because he's on the phone 12 hours a day talking to customers about how to help them with their foil drive journey. So I'm going to throw it to Trav. I want to hear today, what's the most common thing you get asked by a customer?
Most common question is normally, what board should I get? My question is to them is, what is your end goal? Do you want to surf? Do you want a flat water pump? Do you want to downwind? Do you want to do a bit of everything? So from that, I can work my way back with them and work out exactly what size gear to run.
What do you find is the best board choice for foil drive?
Normally, I kind of look at the more of the downwind kind of shape, something a little bit narrower, a little bit longer. You don't need to ride the smallest possible board out there to have fun. And realistically, you go too small, you're going to burn through battery, you're not going to get up as many times. And look, once you get up, yes, it is really fun, but I myself go that little bit longer, then I have more run time, easier to get up and just get more waves.
Yeah. I started off with a tiny board because that's all I had, and it works. Like there's nothing wrong with it. However, if you want the most out of your foil drive kit, if you've got these more mid-length style boards, I'm talking like in the 5-foot region, it really just helps the unit, getting you planing on the water and like just making everything a little bit easier for the unit to handle.
And also body weight's a big thing as well. If you're a 110 kilo guy, you don't want to be on a 411 30 litre board.
Yeah.
You will be able to get up chipping into a wave, but if you want to, like myself, I'm really bad at pop-ups. I never paddle into a wave. I paddle across a wave and get up. So you want that slightly bigger board to get you up on the plane straight away. So then you can tow yourself into waves. Yeah.
And talking about balance, you can actually go too far on the other end of size, where I've seen people using like actual SUPs, like stand-up SUPs for foil drive, for proning, and I feel like that nearly works against you as well.
Absolutely,
so there's definitely like a sweet spot in the middle that I find.
Yeah, that 5 to 5.5 range is kind of real. It's really nice for 90% of the average punter out there. It's really good.
It all really depends on your weight to power ratio. So the power that we've got right here is the foil drive, and it's kind of infinity how much power it has. Weight, we can control in some sort of aspect.
Sometimes.
I weigh 80 kilos and I ride my 5.4 Cruiser from Amos. This board was designed with foil drive in mind, and it started off as like a prone mid-length, but when I chucked my foil drive on it, it just worked so well. And I actually really like that mid-length style board because I find the length also acts as a dampener to my pitch instability. So like when you have a shorter board, you feel more of your nose going up and down, versus if you have a little bit of a longer board, it really dampens out that pitch instability and gives you more control, I find.
Yeah, no, exactly. I myself, I'm 83 kilos. I'm riding a DC 5.2, 18.5, 39 litre. Super easy to get up. It's 5.2, just a little bit, it's not too short, not too long, kind of do everything on it. Yeah, that's my kind of bread and butter at the moment.
I find another key point with selection of boards is the connectivity it has with the foil drive unit. So you're able to kind of explain maybe some of the issues that some people are finding with different boards?
Yeah, look, it's all got to do with different types of layup. The biggest impeder of signal is water and carbon fibre. So some boards will connect the actual signal better than others. A lot of the boards with forged carbon fibre tracks really dampen the signal. That's when we recommend going to the external patch antenna. 95 to 97% of all boards work fine without it. You just got to remember, you fill the tracks full of foam. The foam displaces the water, which allows better signal to transmit through the board. Yeah,
I find like a few people have come to me with issues saying their board just like does not work at all. And then I've referred them on to like masterclasses of connection, and it's mainly technique that kind of fixes that. It's just, I feel like a lot of people are sinking their boards completely underwater and trying to keep pulling the trigger, and it's just not connecting. Yeah, that's a big thing as well. As soon as the board goes completely underwater, you will lose signal if the controller's up here. Watch the masterclass videos of Paul. He does a really good job of explaining how to get up on small boards. Paul's 93 kilos and he can get up on smaller boards than me most of the time. He's just got really good technique, and it's quite annoying, to be honest.
Once the board's out, I can actually afford to take the remote up off the surface sometimes. Some boards still require you to have a little bit closer, and others you can get a little bit more sort of friendly with how far away you have the controller. But if I was to dip the board under again, completely submerge it, it cuts out.
Okay, moving up the unit, max versus slim. If I'm going out to a beachy where the waves are only like 10 meters off the shore, I'll ride a slim because I just zip up. I don't even need a wave. I'll just flat water start a slim, pump around, get a few waves, and then I'll come down, have a rest, and kind of just like, there's no really motoring around that I need to get to. Versus say if I lived in Hawaii where there's like an outer reef, half a kilometer out to sea, you're gonna burn half your battery just getting out there. So I would highly recommend a max for those situations. So it's really kind of like location based.
Absolutely.
And like what you're trying to achieve, you're trying to get like more runtime by kind of like hybrid foiling, or do you want to kind of have a prone kind of experience with a slim, but maybe you don't have the chip in available so you can flat water start.
Absolutely. And it's also got to do with your skill level as well. If you're a proficient foiler, go the slim because it works well. Someone like myself, I don't have the prone pop-up ability. I basically start on the flats and then hybrid foil in and then just start looping laps for the life of the battery and then go home as fast as I can.
Another key one that I've used to kind of decipher which unit to use, whether the slim or the max. Say if I'm just doing a downwind on a prone board, I would use a slim because like I just need to zip up one or two times, and then when I'm downwinding, it feels like I don't even have a foil drive on. However, if I'm not doing a stock standard downwind where I've got someone to bring me back up to the top, I'll put on the max because I'll go upwind, use the power of the max battery, power upwind, burn the battery that way, and then be able to do like, you know, a 4 kilometer downwind regularly. And I don't need any support from anyone else.
That's the best thing. That's the funnest thing. Ending back up at your own car, not having to shuttle, not having to worry about anything. I think it's brilliant. And you can do it by yourself as well. So, it's gold.
Logistics.
I hate logistics.
Trav, do you want to kind of talk us through the lengths we have and then even the other options of having an integrated mast?
Yeah, look, we've got 12.5 centimetre, 15, 20, 25, then we go into E-foil, which is 60 and 70. The 60 and 70 are dependent of your actual mast lengths. If you've got an 85 to 80 centimetre mast, you run a 70 centimetre cable. Anything sub 75, you go a 60, just because the props get really close to the fuselage.
And what is the most optimal mast length you find for foil drive?
I find between 75 to 85, look, to be honest, they all work. It's just what you feel comfortable on. And then it comes back to your cable heights. Like currently, I used to run a 15, I'm now running a 12.5. I just want to surf and downwind. So the hybrid foiling back out's a little bit harder, but you get more mast to play with when you're free foiling. What about yourself?
I find that 80 centimetre like the most optimal as well, because I find when I go any bigger than an 80 centimetre mast, even if it's ultra high modulus carbon, you're starting to get flex because you're so high out in the water. And like I've seen people talk about like, you know, if I've got a 20 centimetre cable length, but I'm running like a 90 centimetre mast, I've still got 70 centimetres. But the thing is, everything starts flexing a bit. And for me, I find the most optimal is like running the 80 centimetre mast, but then also having that short 12.5 centimetre cable, because when I'm on the wave, I want to feel that the foil drive's not even there. So for me, it's the shortest cable that I can get. I find a lot of crew that I've been teaching lately, their goal is to pump. They want to learn how to get off the foil drive and pump. And a lot of them have been using 20 centimetre cables, which is actually extremely hard to pump because you have to pop so high above that cable length to then have like, you know, only a small amount of real estate to actually have free foil to pump. So I've been recommending people to get better at the skills of surface motoring and then actually reducing that cable length to say a 12.5 or a 15 centimetre, because then you've got more real estate on your mast to deal with to have free foiling to pump away from foil drive.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you were talking about the 20. The 20 comes standard in all the kits, mainly because it is the most common size we sell around the world. Hawaii ends up a little bit shorter because they're more surf orientated. Europe run 20s because there's more lakes and flat water pumping. So we've kind of tried to simplify it and run the 20. When I first started, I ran a 20 for 6 months and then went to a 15, and now I'm riding a 12.5.
And I guess maybe if you're just happy motoring around as if you're an E-foil, keep the 20, you know?
Absolutely.
Or even just go full E-foil and go 60 or 70. Yeah.
And it's also got a lot to do as well if it's in really choppy conditions. Ride a slightly longer cable if you've got the ability, so it stops the motor cavitating and you get more battery life, there's less cavitation, less noise, keeps everybody happy, and it's just more efficient.
Yeah.
Integrated masts are great. They're more efficient through the water because you don't have that cable coming out behind the actual trailing edge. When I first rode one, I was kind of blown away by how efficient they are. Like, anybody that rides one's getting more battery life as well, and they are smoother through the water. You know, you don't think that little cable makes a difference, but it makes a big difference with water wrapping around it. Only downside is you are fixed to that one length. There is no, I want to change from 15 to a 12 to a 20. So normally, well, it's basically set and forget.
It would be nearly your second mast into foil drive because you've probably experimented enough with cable length heights.
Yep.
And then now you're like, I know what I want. I'm going to buy this integrated mast now.
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of crew do buy that down the track when they've been riding for a little bit of time and they know the exact motor length they want. So yeah, they're a really cool piece of kit.
Why would you choose the 3-blade over a 2-blade?
Biggest difference is the 3-blade will give you a little bit more bottom end to get up, but then you'll run out of top end quicker. 3-blades don't spin as fast as 2-blades. 3-blades are a little bit smoother through the water because there's normally always 2 points of contact. The smaller guys can ride the 2-blades a lot easier as well. I switch between the 2-blades and 3-blades depending what conditions I'm in. If I want a little bit more top end for a bit more towing, I'll go to a 2-blade. When we're playing around in the Hood River, I could get an extra 5 kilometers an hour out of a 2-blade than a 3-blade.
When you say heavier guys and lighter guys, where does the line cross?
It's more, if you're just a bigger dude to start with, like, you know, the 85 kilo guy, go to a 3-blade. Also depends if you want to ride a smaller board, you can go on a 3-blade.
Okay.
So it's dependent of board length and weight and size and foil dependent. There's so many variables. That's why a 2-blade comes standard in the kit because, you know, you can still ride the foil drive with a 2-blade. A lot of people opt for the 3-blade upgrade because it is a little bit easier to get up and get going, the 3-blade. But once you get that efficiency level and you can get up with the 2-blade as well, you will find it more efficient through the water because there is more top end speed. So that will allow you to chase bigger swell that kind of can outrun the 3-blade. It won't outrun a 2-blade. So I switch between both.
I've also found that the 3-blade is a little bit more smoother through the water. If you're making more mistakes, the 3-blade's more forgiving.
Absolutely. That's because you've got 3 points of contact. So there's always 2 points of contact in the water at once. So you will find it definitely smoother through the water. We also have a high performance motor, which gives you a little bit more runtime, bit more power. Yeah, really cool. I've been riding it for the last couple of months and really enjoying that.
Why would you need more power out of the system that we've already got?
For the bigger guys as well, it really helps. Really nice for e-foiling at the same time. So yeah, just allows you to get out a little bit longer on the same battery.
Wow. So there is an encyclopedia of different front foils out there, different brands. How do you know what to pick for what discipline you're doing?
It is a bit of a dark art learning what you want to ride and what you want to do. So honestly, when it comes to that, speak to your local shop about foils. You know, they're in your area. They know what the best conditions are. Foil drive kind of goes hand in hand with the foil. So it's really based upon your skill level and what you want to ride.
Yeah, I find like a lot of people that are foil driving, a lot of them are doing a lot of flat water foil driving. And a foil that I find is perfect for that is something in like the 1,000 square centimeter range. If you're kind of motoring around in flat water on a little foil, you're just going to be burning up so much of your battery and being pretty hard on your equipment when you don't need to be. Something in that kind of 1,000 square centimeter I find is like perfect because then you can transition from your motoring around to like popping up on foil and free foiling, and you can kind of pump away with a foil of that size.
Yeah, that's it. Look, foils have become more efficient and smaller. A lot of companies are running under camber. So when you say 1,000 square centimeter wing, it doesn't sound big, but they are, for their size now, they're very efficient and a lot of lift. 2 years ago, we were riding 2,000 square centimeter wings and they weren't as efficient as what we've got now. So also the weight dependent, like, you say 1,000. If I'm going to motor around on flat water and e-foil, I'll pull out a 1,400 square centimetre wing, something like that, and basically ride at 20 kilometres an hour and just maximise my battery time and just go for a cruise.
Yeah.
So, but if I want to learn how to pump efficiently, I'll drop my wing size down to something that pumps really well. Won't get the same amount of runtime, but my aim is to get up get the foil drive out and then start pumping. So yeah, comes back to what you want to do. There's just so many options. I thought I knew a lot about foils, and yeah, it's a dark art.
I think like a key skill that people need to figure out on their own foil journey too is that what you're trying to do with your foil selection is match the speed of the energy that you're trying to ride. So if you've got waves out there that are pretty small, you kind of want a bigger foil that's going to be going the same speed as that. If you're riding really big surf, you want a little foil because you want to be going really fast and chasing down big waves. Another thing that I've seen a lot of people do recently too is like wake thieving. That's a tiny source of energy that you're trying to match. So you want to be on kind of like a bigger foil.
And something that rides a little bit slower. So you can sit on the wake easier. So yeah, some of the new foils now are so efficient they outrun the wakes.
Totally.
So yeah, then you spend the whole time
motoring around
chasing stuff.
Instead of standing there and gliding.
Yeah.
So the fuselage, or the fuse for short, that's something that I had never even heard of before I got into foiling. And I'm kind of curious what that dictates and what is it?
Well, your fuselage connects your mast to your wing, to your tail wing. The longer the fuselage, the more pitch stability you have. They won't turn as hard. It's going to be slower to control. It's kind of like, a Boeing 787 versus a F-18, something like that. The shorter they are, the quicker they're going to turn.
Yeah. I highly recommend with fuses, if you don't really know what they're doing, is to start on a longer one, because that way you're going to have more control, more pitch stability, which is the motion of going front and back. That's going to be more ironed out and it's going to be more of a leveled ride. And from there, you can then experiment and go shorter and see what that does when you reduce that length.
Absolutely, yeah. You'll get to a certain point where you feel uncomfortable. So then, I've hit that point, just go back that step to where you feel comfortable. Like, I change my fuselages to what conditions I ride at the same time. If I downwind, I run a longer fuse. If I surf, I ride a shorter one because you want to be in the pocket of the wave. So yeah, there's so many choices.
Yeah.
And you can get it horribly wrong.
Yeah. For me, I personally really like to ride a longer fuse when I'm foil driving, because the foil drive actually adds, because it has so much power, it's doing a bucking bronco effect a lot. So I like to have a longer fuse to kind of iron out those moments where you're kind of going up, down, up, down. And I feel like when you've got a longer fuse like that, you're flowing a lot better.
Absolutely.
All right, leading to the last part of the equipment, it's the tail or the stabilizer. And I actually didn't understand that the tail is doing exactly what it's called. It's stabilizing the whole setup.
Absolutely.
So you've got all these different sizes of tails. And you also got different shapes. You've got high aspect ones, you've got more medium aspect ones. It kind of leads us back into this kind of front foil discussion where there's like this huge library of things to choose, but where do you start from?
Always start big. Like, the bigger tail will give you more stability. It'll help you with lift as well at the same time. The bigger will be slower. Then, you'll keep dropping sizes. Good example is like downwinding. Everybody started with a really big tail because they just wanted to stand there and just plow along basically. And now guys are going smaller and smaller and smaller tails because everything's getting faster and you want to run with the ocean swell at the same time. So,
and like what you said, there's less drag when you have a smaller tail because there's less surface area, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And also you should really match your tail to complement your front wing as well. So high aspect wings should realistically have a high aspect tail, medium aspect tail, because you want them to balance out, because if you don't have a balanced ride, it makes life really difficult and it makes it harder to get up and foil drive at the same time. Yeah,
I find too, if you want to start diving into like the deeper side of tuning your tail, is that if you've got a big tail, it's usually going to give you more lift because there's more area for it to push back on.
Yeah.
However, if you want a big tail for stability, you can put in a shim that takes out the lift in the tail.
Yeah.
So you're using the tail for stabilization, not lift anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Shimming is another world.
You should know, you got 40 shims with
your KT
setup.
I've got 40 shims and one wing. And it's all written on there so I don't get it wrong.
Yeah, and you still fucked it up.
And I still fucked it up, yes. Because I didn't listen to Ryan.
Exactly.
Tails are kind of complicated because Usually with the tail, you have roughly like 4 degrees of lift. And what these shims are doing is either adding another degree or half a degree of lift or taking away lift. So if you're looking to get lift out of your tail, you're adding more pitch to it.
Yeah.
And then if you're looking for a tail to just add stabilization, you're taking that lift out. What's cool is that just like with the rest of the whole system, you can mix and match until you find out what's exactly right for you or what you're trying to achieve in the setup, whether you're trying to surf and go as slow as the wave, or if you're downwinding and you're trying to match these open ocean swells that are moving so fast, so you're trying to take lift out of it. So you're just going as fast as you can.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when you get your setup, go to the beach with a dozen shims, go for a ride, come back in, swap it, go out again, and just keep doing that till you find exactly what you want to do.
Just change one thing at a time.
Yes. We've all been there.
If you're going out with a new foil drive, a new mast, a new stabilizer, a new fuse and everything, and it doesn't feel right, maybe just change the tail.
Change one thing at a time.
And then go back out. Yeah. Okay, now I know what that tail does. And then just kind of keep working off that.
Yeah. When I get a new bit of kit, I'll go to my local sea cliff with my foil drive and the setup and just go for a motor around with stock settings. And if I don't like it, I'll come in and change something. And like you said, I'll change one thing at a time. A lot of the time is more position of the mast as well. That's the biggest thing. That makes a lot of difference. And then when that starts to feel nice, then I'll start looking at shims.
Yeah, I think it's super important too, like what you said, to start off with stock.
Yeah.
A lot of people get confused with other people's opinions and they're like, before they even tried something, they're like, I need to add 2 degrees of shim to the tail because this person said so. That could be the case. They could definitely have already figured out what that setup needs, but it's so important for you to figure that out.
Absolutely.
And just kind of start from a baseline.
Yeah. And read the manual. Read the manual. The way I've done it to start with is I've basically bolted it on exactly where I used to prone foil without a foil drive.
What if you've never prone foiled?
Put it in the center of your box. Go dead center, and then you've got the ability to go back a little bit if you need to, or forward a little bit. A lot of people don't realize is with the foil drive, it's going to try to push the nose up a lot. So you may find when you first start, you run everything back a little bit further because you'll feel the nose trying to get up and push up. And when you go to get up, you're going to be leaning really far forward. After a period of time, you'll end up pushing it further forward because you're going to want to have a little bit more maneuverability. So my honest opinion is start with the center of the tracks. All boards are balanced, they're not done by a designer who randomly guesses where they're going to put the boxes. They are in a specific spot for a reason.
Yeah, I think that's important to say. Like, I've got this board which I designed pretty much for foil drive.
Yeah.
You've got a DC board that's designed for foil drive. So like these boxes aren't just guessed and they're like, oh, I think they're going to go there. It's been a lot of R&D to know that that's where it goes.
Exactly.
And that's where it goes for multiple different foil brands.
Yeah.
Because not every mast from every foil brand goes in the same spot.
Exactly.
You need to kind of identify if it needs to go forward or back.
Yeah, they're all going to have different points of lift and your feet are going to be in different spots. Some brands, your feet will be over the mast. Other ones will be a little bit further forward. Some will even be further back. So realistically, the best is to start from scratch, start centered, make a little notch on the board with a bit of texture.
I think that's a really good tip.
Yeah.
I always put pencil marks on my board of where the foil drive unit goes or where the mast goes if I'm lining up the bolts. It's just a reference point because some people I see, they'll get to the beach and even though a lot of boards have notches on it, they're like, oh, I think it went on the 4th notch, but every time they're just guessing. And it's like, you're already setting yourself up for disaster or just wasting your time till figuring it out again.
Yeah, no, that just a lead pencil, just a little notch, just makes, you can always go back to it. That's the biggest thing. So when you get your foil drive set up, don't take it straight out to the surf because you will not have it set up correctly anyway. Go to a flat water spot and have a bit of a play. Like you've got the foil drive there to get you up for a reason. So yeah, when you start, if it's too far forward, it'll ride really nose high under power. And once you get up, you will find it'll feel, even on a shortboard, it's going to feel really squirrely and you'll feel it being really unbalanced. If it's too far back, you'll get up. When you pop the foil drive out of the water, you'll go nose down really fast and you'll find you actually have to physically take like half a step back. So you want to get that balance feeling. So when you pop up, you really don't have to shift your back foot back very far, maybe an inch, inch and a half, and then it will feel balanced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the foil drive dance.
Yeah, pretty well.
You have to move your feet around.
You do. Just go out and just practice on flat water. That's the easiest way because you don't want to wreck a surf session.
The next thing that you can play with is in the foil drive app. And we've got low, medium and high power modes with different types of boost.
Yeah.
Why would you go in there and change those settings?
It's more of a body weight thing, to be honest. The smaller guys can run less power to get up and get going. Bigger guys, if you're struggling, go to the high power, add that extra bit of boost as well, just to help you get up. But a lot of the time it comes back to technique.
Yeah. For me, because I'm 80 kilos, I find that sometimes if I have too much power, it makes the takeoff harder because like you're just getting so launched into the air before you can even get your front foot planted on the board to keep it down. So sometimes I like to play with the app to reduce the power that I'm getting. So what happens is I just have enough power that I can get the board level to the water, so it's planing on the water. That gives me enough time to get to my feet. And then when I'm on my feet, I'm just plowing along on the water, level to it with the board, and then I give it a little bit more of a squirt, and then I'm on foil. Versus I see a lot of people that they're kind of half on their mast with their motor in and out of the water, and they're still trying to climb to their knees and their feet. And it's just making it so much harder for themselves. And I'm thinking if you could just reduce that power, play around with those app settings, it's just going to fine tune your whole setup.
No, exactly. Just tinker and have fun. That's what foiling's all about. We all play. We get it right, we get it wrong, and 90% of the time it ends up basically back at stock.
People are sometimes a little bit too hesitant and scared to try something because they think maybe it's going to ruin their session. But a lot of the times it's going to teach them something and optimize it for their next session.
Yeah, absolutely. There's not one right answer. There's so many different ways to foil drive.
Yeah.
It really comes down to what you want to do, your skill level, your equipment, and it's just tuning your gear for how you like to ride.
That's it.
When you get a foil drive, just throw your ego at the door because you are going to suck. It doesn't matter how good a rider you are. Foil driving is a sport by itself.
Yes.
So it's a learning curve. This is why you buy it, because you want to get better.
And it's not like the thing that you buy at the beginning is what you're going to end up on.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just like any other foiling gear or other sporting equipment that you usually when you first buy in, you're buying like, the stock standard stuff. And when your skills progress, then you can start buying the more high-end stuff that's more detailed for what you're trying to do.
You'll chase all the shiny carbon stuff, look for that extra 5%, realizing you don't need that extra 5% and it's harder and you had a lot more fun on the stuff you previously were on. So yeah, it's just about having fun.
Yeah.
So basically what we have is my 5.2 by 18, 39 litres, pretty well the standard DC shape, but it's running a trench through the middle of it to hide your foil drive. It basically gets rid of the box. You don't feel it as much when you're getting up and getting going. A little bit smoother on touchdowns. If I run out of a battery, I have to take it off and put another battery in.
Is it that much of a difficult task to take it out?
Realistically, no.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and then like, I know there's a few guys out there that each session they might run 3 batteries, or if you're Pyros 10,
15
but
maybe.
Like, for me, when I go out for a foil drive session, I just use one battery. One battery for me is like an hour and 10 minutes of on my feet riding. Like I pretty much don't come down. So after an hour, I'm done. So, when I come home, I'll have to take the whole unit out to change the battery. But for me, the performance that you get out of a trench board, it's worth it.
Absolutely, yeah. When you're trying to squeak all the percentages out of it, a trench does give you more efficiency.
Yeah, I feel like too, a lot of guys who foil drive, they just foil drive. So they have a dedicated setup. And if you're going to go that deep into it, my personal opinion is that it's highly worth just going that little bit more and getting these dugout boards, because you are gaining that much more performance.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is what I will use for everything. It's great.
Say if you're a customer who's looking to upgrade to one of them, do they have to go through this whole process of balancing it? Or would you say that that dugout section that's cut out, that's not changing the balance of the board?
No, not at all, to be honest. Essentially, I've shortened my cable length at the same time. It just adds to the experience. You don't need to start from scratch again. It's more just, as long as you know where your settings were originally, you can bolt it in exactly the same setup and it should feel very, very similar. You'll just end up with more efficiency. Just ate a fly. That's what in my mouth.
Would this be for a more advanced rider or a more experienced rider?
Not really, to be honest. It's a very standard shape. It's just got the trench in it. You're basically just losing the height of the box. So yeah, you don't need to be a pro rider to ride this.
So it sounds like, you know, if you've already got that integrated mast that's set at that height, don't be afraid to get one of these.
No, definitely not.
Okay.
No. Best way to describe it, it's just like a stone skipping over the wave. So the waves don't hit the box as much and the board at the same time. It's basically the board. So yeah, it'll just travel over everything. Now, it just adds to the complete experience. It's yeah, really interesting bit of kit to ride.
So now that you got the fundamentals, the most important thing is just to get in the water, have fun, figure it out for yourself, learn from your mistakes. I'm sweating from this Adelaide heat. You're eating flies. Let's get in the water. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, let's do it.